Familiar with metallic silhouette shooting to the course of fire? First, we'll go over the NRA course of fire. There are basically two organizations that sponsor metallic handgun silhouette shooting for handguns. One is the NRA, National Rifle Association, and the other is the IHMSA, that's International Handgun Metallic Silhouette Association. Their courses are very similar, but I'll go over them because NRA has one class that IHMSA doesn't have. So I'll show you what the course of fire is first for the big bore handguns. This is RAM. I got it painted white because I'd been practicing where I had a dark background last year. And the RAM, they weigh 55 to 60 pounds, and they are shot at 200 meters or 200 yards. The course can be either 200 yards or 200 meters, but it's supposed to be posted what the distance is because your sight settings may be different, especially with a revolver, because if it's in meters, that's like 219 yards, and they drop quite a bit more. Okay, then we have the turkey. The turkey is shot at 150 yards or 150 meters with big bore handguns. Okay, then we have the pigs. The pig, big bore pig, are shot at 100 yards or 100 meters, depending on what the course has to offer. Next, we have the big bore chicken, and this is shot at 50 yards with big bore handguns. Okay, in addition to these big bore full size, we call these full size targets, in addition to that, NRA has a half size course. They shoot with unlimited guns at the same distances that are shot at the full size. So here's what a half size RAM looks like. Let's get it in comparison to the big bore target. That's a half size RAM. This is shot at 200 meters with a big bore handgun. Okay, next we have the turkey. The turkey is half size again, and it's shot at 150 yards or 150 meters. Next we have the pig, and it's shot at 100 yards or 100 meters, depending on what you have for a course. Then we have the chicken, and it's shot at 50 yards or 50 meters. And incidentally, on these half-size targets, when they have a tie, the shoot-off will often be these chickens here. They'll have chicken, pig, and turkeys set in an odd sequence of order for a total of 5 targets usually at 200 meters. That's what it takes to win a shoot-off at one of these NRA matches. Okay, next we go to the .22 caliber NRA. The rams are what we call 3/8 scale. Otherwise, they're 3/8 the size of the full-size big bore targets. These are shot at 100 yards or 100 meters. Okay, next we have the 3/8 size turkey, shot at 75 yards or 75 meters. Then we have the pig, and it's shot at 50 yards or 50 meters, depending on the course. Next, now this is a larger scale. See, that's a 3/8 size pig. But we get to the chicken for NRA. The chicken is a half-size chicken. It's larger scale than what the other animals are. But the half-size chicken is shot at 40 yards or 40 meters, which is almost as far away as a pig. So basically, that is your NRA, your 3 main categories. They also have an air pistol silhouette. Maybe after this tape is through, I've got a set up at home. I'll show you what they look like. Okay, that's the NRA metallic handgun silhouette course, what you shoot at, with different caliber guns. We're going to go with what International Handgun Metallic Silhouette Association uses for their course. First off, this is the .22 caliber rimfire class, and this is it's not a half-size chicken like NRA. This is a 3/8 scale. Otherwise, it's a lot smaller. Not a lot, but it's smaller than the NRA uses. But IHMSA shoots these little guys at 25 yards, okay, or 25 meters, whichever their course is set up in. Then we shoot the same at 50 as NRA does. It's the 3/8 scale pig at 50 yards. Then we shoot the 3/8 turkey at 75 yards. Then the 3/8 size ram at 100 yards. And then a lot of the .22 caliber shoots, the people that end up in a tie or shoot a perfect score, it isn't unusual to have them shoot at 5 of these little 3/8 inch scale chickens at 100 yards with .22 rimfire handguns. So it takes pretty good shooters to hit these little guys at 100 yards. Hey, the next class that IHMSA shoots is the big bore, and these are 3/8 or 1/2 inch steel targets, and the chickens are shot at 50 yards, same exact, these are full-size chickens, same distance as what the NRA shoots them. Next, we have the pig, full-size pig. These are shot at 100 yards, same as NRA. Next, we have the full-size turkey. These guys are shot at 150 yards or 150 meters. NRA and ISHMA are both the same. The course can be either in yards or meters, but it has to be posted so the competitors know how to set their sight settings correctly, because it takes a lot of screwdriver work to hit these guys with a handgun. Okay, next, my white ram again. This white ram here, it's kind of crude. I made some of these targets up just so I'd have some place to shoot at to practice at the official size targets, but they're kind of crude looking. But this white ram, again, why it's white, last year I was going to shoot at a 500 meter shoot, which is what they shoot rams at in rifles, but with handguns they shoot at 200 meters, just same as NRA. But this particular one still has a group I shot on at 500 meters with a Remington XP 708. Point the hits out, Joyce. The first one, there's 1 hit, 2, and that's 2 more, that's 2 together, 4, and that's the 5th hit. Now this is shooting Creedmoor with a Remington XP 100 708, and I had a 6-power cheap Tasco scope on it. And that isn't bench rest accuracy, but the 500 meters is 546 yards. I had the ram clamped down with vice grips on both ends of the stand so it wouldn't knock it over. But the dot on my scope is big enough that the actual dot covered a bigger area at 546 yards. That's 500 meters than what this group is. So this is a gun that I actually bought for hunting. It's a repeater model, doesn't have near as good a trigger as the single shot models do. But I liked it. It had a magazine so you could shoot it for hunting. But anyway, this is the NRA and IHMSA course. And just as I was talking about this white ram, here in California and someplace back in Virginia or somewhere, about once a year, they set the metal silhouettes at, they start with the chicken at 200 meters, and the pigs are 300 meters, the turkeys are 385 meters, rams are 500 meters, and they shoot these with a handgun at these distances, and it's surprising how good they do using the Creedmoor position. Anyway, this is the what we're talking about shooting at when we were talking about metallic silhouette shooting. Showed what the different courses were, and I have now set up the IHMSA 22 handgun silhouette course. The chickens are 3/8 size chickens there at 25 yards. And the pigs, 3/8 size pigs at 50 yards. Turkeys are 3/8 size turkeys at 75 yards. And then the rams, the 3/8 size rams at 100 yards. These are all measured by surveyor. Typically this would be a half of the course. You shoot 10 shots at each distance. But I'm just setting up a half a course here to show how it works. Okay, here's Joyce in position to shoot Creedmoor like we use in handgun silhouette shooting. I know a lot of people see pictures in magazines of people shooting silhouette laying on their back, and they think, well, all you have to do is just lay down on your back and that's it, you'll get good scores. But there's a lot of principles involved here, and I'm going to take the time to show you the correct position. There's a few people that have variations of these positions, but this is the best position if you've not got your own unique position, and I'll show you why here, piece by piece here. She has no magazine in the gun. This is a high standard at 22, and she has her feet spread wide apart with her knees together. This whole principle is kind of on triangulation with your feet spread apart and your knees together. This is steady. Also notice that her elbow is along her side but not right against her body. Actually should be out a little more, Joyce. Your elbow is out away from your body a little, and what this is good for, you actually push the receiver of your gun there against your upper thigh, and you have the muzzle against your foreleg. See the muzzle pressed against the foreleg, and the grip is against the upper thigh. Your elbow is out a little from your body. Again, this is triangulation. If you push it in, that gives you a really steady positioning of your gun, and your feet spread apart like this gives you steady position. Now Joyce here, you see her glass set up on. She has actually been virtually blind in her left eye since childhood accident killed a nerve in her right eye, and she has a tough time shooting rifles and shotguns, but with a handgun she just uses her left eye. And you shoot the competition, you want to get good shooting glasses. You see people with bifocals and stuff, and they may be good for reading, but a lot of times you can't see your front sight picture good. So you have to spend a little money for glasses, but you see people spending $700 for a gun, several hundred, and then they don't want to waste any money on glasses. And if you can't see what you're shooting at, and if you can't see your target, you can't see your sight picture is the most important, but it don't do you any good to have a good gun. Now I'll go back to her rear and show you from the rear what she's doing here. Anyway, this is a correct position, and the head is held still, much steadier than even if you're shooting over a sandbag. And I'll explain this a little bit later. So it's really important to have your hand like that. It's going to really hurt at first till you get used to it. But after you get used to this position, you're going to find it's really comfortable, and you can stay in that position for a long time. Now I'll change locations and get a different shot. The right side view, side away from the gun, and you can see how the elbow is bent over backwards. Okay, the way the elbow is bent, the head is cradled in it. The higher you can hold your head up, the better it is, especially if you have loose clothing or it's windy. It'll flap stuff up in your way. And again, see how she has her legs spread apart there, and that's to steady her. Again, this is what it looks like from downrange. Incidentally, this high standard here, last year at the IHMSA Internationals in Fort Stockton, Texas, Joyce took this old high standard here I bought back in the 1960s or early 70s for $159, and she shot a 78 out of 80. Nobody did any better until she was shooting in like a 30-mile-an-hour crosswind. She missed one turkey at 75 yards and one ram at 100 yards for a total of 78 out of 80. And this is a real production gun. I give $159 for it. And then right before High Standard went out of business, they came out with some 10-inch barrels, which fits on just, there's a button you press in front of the receiver there. It's a ball type attachment. And I pressed on this 10-inch barrel. We use a 7 1/4-inch barrel, which originally came with for standing, and the 10-inch for Creedmoor. And she was shooting against guns that cost $1,000 or better, so I was really proud of her, considering that she never shot at all until about 10 years ago. And I have been a firearm instructor for years, and I noticed that instructing people that hadn't shot before, I had better luck making them into good shooters than people that had shot enough they had some bad habits. So I talked Joyce into going out and trying shooting .22, and she did it. And for the last 3 or 4 years, she's done really well in NRA. She's was high grand aggregate for 2 years, high aggregate freestyle, I think last year. Freestyle is laying down. The there is also a standing where you shoot standing offhand, and in NRA they take your standing score and your freestyle score, which is what she's positioning here, and for the total for the grand aggregate. But anyway, for someone that didn't start till is 50 years old, couldn't see out of one eye, this should encourage women to come out and participate in competition, because even if you have no experience, find a good instructor, and you'll be surprised how good you'll do. Anyway, Joyce, I'm really proud of her, the way she's done, and she also does good in big bore. 2 years ago at Puyallup, Washington, they had the targets painted white like this ram is, and she was the only lady that got an 80 out of 80 in big bore, and she was shooting the XP 100. But anyway, this is a correct position. Now I'll give her a little rest, and then I'll let her shoot a few targets and see if she can hit anything. We're talking about this Creedmoor style. I mentioned that most people put a leather of some kind around their lower leg just to lean their gun against, in case they get the muzzle back a little, it doesn't burn holes in their pants. But if you're going to shoot a revolver, especially a big bore revolver, you need to put a protector around your upper leg. Go ahead and put the protector on, and you can see, I'll show you why in a minute. You put one of these, it's leather, and it has a fiberboard type thing inside of it. If you get in silhouette shooting and join any associations, there's people that runs ads for these type of gear, and this protects your upper leg. Now take your revolver and put it alongside there and get back down position with your big bore revolver. Okay, this is a Dan Wesson 357 Maxi Mag, and generates a lot of pressure, and you can see when she gets in position there, where the cylinder gap is lined up. See where the cylinder gap would be lined up with her trousers there. If so, this protector shield is really important when you shoot revolvers. If you don't, you'll be picking lead out of different parts of your anatomy, because there's thousands of pounds of pressure around the cylinder gap. Likewise, when you shoot silhouette, shooting a revolver. Now, when you shoot standing offhand class, you have to use either a revolver or a single shot production gun. And be sure, if you're using a revolver standing, never put your hand up where it's even with the front cylinder gap with the revolver, or you'll really hurt your hand. And I'll show you a leg shield here that's had a few hundred rounds shot through it, and you see what damage it's done. There's an old leg shield. Actually, this one could be reused. They have a Velcro panel there that's on the outside. Get a new outside panel, and then there's a piece of fiberboard that goes inside. But this is what the leather leg shield looks like after a few hundred rounds with a revolver. And you could imagine what your leg would look like if you didn't have something like this leather there to protect your leg. So be sure, don't try shoot this Creedmoor position with a revolver unless you have some kind of a leather wrap or some other heavy material around your trousers, or it's going to hurt you and you'll flinch from then on. When they shoot silhouette, they make a book up with their gun and whatever ammo they're using, where their sights are set at different ranges. Surprising, if you shoot at one range and you're hitting, sometimes you go to another range and you'll have to use different sight settings. So we haven't went to any 22 matches this year, and she's kind of cold, but we'll take a picture of the chickens here and let's see if she can hit some of them. We'll see if she can hit some of these chickens here. A chicken. Okay, good. She got fun to shoot at these chickens at 100 yards. I think she's making a mistake. We haven't shot any competition since last October, and it's May 97. We shot in October 96, so it's kind of hard to hit them when you're out of practice. Anytime you're ready. Got the first one. Yeah, we don't shoot much. When we retired, we lived in an area that it's 4 to 5 hours to anywhere else to shoot, and we've actually tonight he's barely missed it, Joyce. I think he was high, but we went to NRA championships before and done fairly well. And some of the guns we hadn't shot since a year before at the Nationals, so it's really rough to do it that way because a lot of those people. She hit it, but it didn't go. That was a big-footed one, Joyce. It had a bigger foot, but anyway, some of these people shoot a couple times a month, and she's not doing that good. She hit it. There's only 4 left. Actually, she hit number 3, a real good hit. I looked through my 32-power spotting scope, good hit, but it just didn't go. There's 4 left. She's going to shoot 5 shots. See how many of them? You're shooting high, Joyce. Good hit. Good hit. Missed it. Now go back to the first one for your 5th shot. Well, I think she nicked it, but anyway, she only got 3 out of 10. So that's not really good for her. She has cleaned them lots of times, but again, we hadn't shot any competition since last October, and it's May now, so it's been a long dry spell. Now I'm going to let her shoot another course here that I'll explain. She hit 4 out of 5. The one she hit twice to make it go, but what it is, we've got a grater blade that's concave, and those chickens are sitting in it, and it's an old used grater blade, and there's a rolled over edge, and if it slides them back and they hit the edge, they don't go. So on a level rail, that one would have hit without shooting it twice. Now I'm going to have Joyce shoot a short course that we've made up for a lot of places don't have a range that goes out to 200 meters for big bore shooting, or don't even have a 100-yard range for 22. And we've set up a short course, what we call a short course silhouette shoot here. It's getting shady there. What we do, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 full-size chicken and then a half-size chicken at 35 yards. Then you go out to 50 yards, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 full-size pigs and a full-size chicken. And what you do, this is designed course to use any straight wall case revolver or semi-auto stock production guns, and you have 2 minutes for 12 shots. And even if people have a high capacity 9mm or something, I make them just load 6 rounds and then load 6 more before they go to the pigs. So you start out, you got 1 shot hit or miss at each chicken, and then you reload and go out and you got 1 shot hit or miss to the pigs. And this course is designed for people to get them familiar with reloading their revolvers or semi-autos, and 35 and 50 yards, and this is all standing offhand, and it's not a speed course. You have 2 minutes for 12 shots, so a person with a single action revolver can even shoot this if he knows which way the cylinder turns and everything. It's a fun course. It's designed for regular types of guns you'd use for a carry gun, hunting, or whatever. So I'm going to let Joyce shoot this one to show you how it works, and it's a good course to put up where you don't have a long distance range but still like to shoot steel targets instead of paper punching. You let people load 6 rounds in the gun and have a 6-round magazine ready, or 6 rounds on the table, speed loader or whatever, and then on the command they have 2 minutes for 12 shots, hit or miss for those targets at 35 and 50 yards. Fire anytime. She was using our old Model 27 Smith & Wesson 357, and she'll see what she can do with it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This little one's hard. We have a little one at 35 and a chicken at 50, and if people have the same score, she missed that one. Most people overshoot it. Now she has to reload. If two people have the same score, say they get 8 out of 12, but one of them gets a chicken at 50 yards and the other one doesn't, the person that gets it's a winner. If they both get it, but one of them gets the little chicken, the other one doesn't, then whoever hits the little chicken. Okay, she got her first pig. Good hit. Good hit. Good hit. Good hit. Not bad for an old grandma, huh? Melichuk, he uses an 8 3/8 just like this one, and obviously we're not going to give him any competition, but also we're shooting at quite a bit further distance than those speed shooters usually shoot. But this is a really fun course, and any club that don't have the distance for 100 yards, if you can round up some full-size chickens and pigs and then 1/2 size and set them at 35 and 50, it's a real good little course. She got 11 out of 12. She did typically. It's kind of hard. That little chicken at 35 is really harder than a full size at 50, but because you get shooting those big ones, and it seems like you overshoot that one. But 11 out of 12 isn't bad. Well, what we do, we have regular score sheets. We have 6 people on a relay, and 6 people shoot, and whoever has the highest score for the 6, we give away a ham or turkey or some kind of a prize. We charge $3 for each shooter. So that gives the club a little money, and the winner of each 6-person relay takes a prize home. We shoot this big bore short range course. We also have a short range 22 course. We put 6 chickens, regular 3/8 scale chickens at 25 yards, not 35, 25, the IHMSA distance. 6 of them at 25 yards, and at 50-yard line we have 5 pigs and 1 chicken. And likewise, if say 2 people get 8 out of 12 and they have the same count, if one of them gets a chicken at 50 yards and the other one don't, that's a tiebreaker. Same thing, we shoot 6-person relays, one at a time, one person shooting 22 and one's big bore at the same time. And at the end of a 6-person relay, we have on one page, we have regular score sheets. We mark X's and zeros just like regular long-range silhouette. And each winner of a 6-shot relay, we give a prize to. This is a real fun event, and it teaches people to reload their guns and how to handle their guns correctly. So they, if they have a malfunction with a semi-auto or a revolver or whatever, guys with single action learn which way their cylinder's going and so forth. So it's a real good course. 22 caliber class at the top. You see the old high standard. That's a production gun. They used to have a class for single shot, another one for semi-autos. Now it's all one class. Semi-auto and single shots compete in production class. Next below that's a revolver. That's a Freedom Arm 252 revolver. Then we have an unlimited class. That's an Anschutz 14-inch. And then they have a new class now for scoped 22 freestyle Creedmoor. And also they have a standing scope class. You can use the same gun if you like. Some people put a high-rise scope mount and use a rifle scope. But these are basically the classes used in IHMSA shooting at 22 caliber matches, and they're virtually the same with the NRA, except NRA don't have the scope class for Creedmoor. They only have the scoped standing class. For silhouette shooting, these are guns you would typically use. That's Dan Wesson 357 Maxi-Mag revolver, Thompson TC Contender 7 TCU 10-inch. That's the production gun we use quite often. And then the Remington XP100, that particular one's a 7x47, and in NRA you can use your same unlimited gun that you use in the full size silhouettes on the half size. You just have to have different sight settings. Also, they have NRA and IHMSA both have an unlimited standing gun, and most people take an XP or a TC contender and put a high rise, 5 or 6 inch high mount on them, and use a rifle. Went out while I was talking, but anyway, they have an unlimited standing gun. They use a high rise scope with a short eye relief scope, and you can shoot the little higher powered gun without hitting your eye. And also in IHMSA that you can use a scope on an unlimited gun. I don't have one here, but that's another class. But for the main thing you need for your aggregate in IHMSA, these 3 guns would do it. Unlimited, production, and your revolver, and use your production gun for your standing class. That's what they call a 4-gun aggregate, and you can have a lot of fun, and you don't have to tie up a lot of money. There's a lot more expensive production guns, but there's been quite a few people win shoot-offs with these 7TCU contenders, and they just passed rules last year. You can use custom aftermarket sights. So the contenders, and if they ever bring some good sights out for the Dan Wesson, which I understand they're back in business now, they were out of business for a while, get some good sights on these Dan Wessons. I've got some of them I can put a scope on, shoot 1.5 inch 5-shot groups at 100 yards, so a little better sights, and they'll be right back in the ballpark. Anyway, for people that haven't tried silhouette, this is type of equipment you'll need, and try that position, practice it, and you'll be surprised how good you'll do. That XP there, I've shot one-hole groups with that open sight at 100 yards with that particular gun there. Just one hole at 100 yards. It's amazing how these XPs shoot. Now on your big bore silhouette shooting, again, these 3 guns here will fill the requirements. The XP Unlimited, the Thompson Contender and 7TCU, and the Dan Wesson 357 Maxi Mag. Incidentally, I've had some people say, well, I'd shoot silhouette, but it's too expensive. Actually, those 3 guns on the table, that you can shoot all the IHMA SA classes that count for your aggregate. You could buy all 3 of those guns for less than you'd pay for one souped up action type space gun you'd use in combat pistol shooting. And either one of these 3, I would feel confident in carrying deer hunting or hunting for other large game with the same exact loads I use silhouette shooting. In fact, the Dan Wesson 357 Maxi Mag, we have a local guy that's here in this county. There's a lot of bear and a lot of bear hunters, and I turned this guy on to this Dan Wesson 357 Maxi Mag, told him what load to use and so forth, which is really a 180 or 200 grain bullet like we use for silhouette shooting, but has enough lead showing to be legal for hunting. You can't hunt bear or any game with a full metal jacket. And he swears by it now and says that's the best bear killing cartridge he's ever seen, and a lot of people he's guiding use 30-06s and other thing, and oftentimes he has to finish them off for him because they just wound the bear, and he wants something to finish them off so they don't hurt his hounds, which are worth a lot of money. Anyway, this is the big bore guns for silhouette shooting. Okay, I mentioned yesterday when I had Joyce demonstrating a Creedmoor position that actually it's steadier than shooting over sandbags, and this is hard for people to understand, but I'll point out here, she's demonstrating here with this Dan Wesson Maxi Mag, showing that it's empty here. Okay, close the cylinder now, it's empty. Notice that when you're shooting over sandbags, if you're using a revolver, always put some leather or some other protection over it. There's actually been people had bad eye damage. If you shoot a revolver, you've seen what it does to the leg shields for your legs. If you shoot them over just a bare sandbag, it'll blow the sand out and may get in your eyes. But anyway, always use a sandbag cover if you're shooting for trying to see how good your loads are for accuracy or whatever, use a piece of leather or some other protection over sandbags. Never shoot over just bare sandbags. You're liable to blind yourself. Okay, now what I was talking about yesterday about being steadier, shooting Creedmoor than over a sandbag here, I'll show you what I'm talking about. When you're shooting over a sandbag, your head can bob around a little bit. If you're not really careful, you look for any long amount of time, your head may move around, and actually what this does, it will cause error in your sight alignment. When you're shooting at a long distance, just a few thousandths error in your sight alignment will cause you to get a poor group or to miss your target. Now, as Joyce demonstrated before, when you were shooting Creedmoor and you have your hand behind your head is perfectly still and lined up with your sights. This is why the Creedmoor position is so effective. It does away with this minute misalignment of your sights caused by your head moving and bobbing around when it's unsupported. I just wanted to explain that as a final thing here on this Creedmoor position. Here we are back home. Joyce is holding some of the trophies she's won the last few years. Joyce didn't start shooting until she was like 50 years old, so she doesn't consider herself to be the best woman shooter in the world or anything like that, and she's not, because you have people like Lee Cottrell that shoot better than most guys do and like that. But Joyce has really done well considering her limited amounts of experience, and here's some of the recent trophies. Like I say, I'll try to focus in, see if we can see them better. I don't know if it's going to focus, but anyway, that's a Grand Aggregate Trophy, NRA shoot in '95. There's a Freestyle Big Bore, NRA, 1995. There's her California State shoot, High Lady. What year was that, Joyce? 95 or 96?
95, I
95,
believe.
I think. And
No,
here's
that was 96.
96, and
Yeah,
here's
96.
her High Lady production, Fort Stockton, Texas. Like I mentioned, she won a special award for High Lady, but in actuality, ladies or anyone else, nobody shot a higher score than she did in the 22 production. And here's a couple more up front here, aggregates. I don't know if you can read them or not.
Yes, until I started shooting, I never won a trophy, and you were into hot rods and dog showing, and until I started shooting, I never won any kind of awards, period.
And what do you think about other women?
I think they should all start shooting. It's very enjoyable, and it makes you feel real comfortable with guns.
What kind of, you're doing pretty good now, but could you tell these other ladies that might be watching not to be embarrassed, and what kind of score you got the first time you tried it?
Well, I think I got 6 out of 40 shooting 22. And I recommend anybody that's starting to start in the 22s and get real comfortable with that before they go on to big bore.
Okay. Anyway, this is my wife, Joyce. She doesn't brag about herself much, but I'm really proud of her, the success she's had, and like I say, we know she's not the world's greatest shooter, but I'll tell you what, when she goes to one of them big matches, even though she may not have shot since the last year of competition, these other people know she's there, and Joyce never shoots against them. She shoots against herself. She tries to beat her score that she shot the previous year, and she's been doing. If there's any overlap on what we're seeing or showing here, we've been having a little battery trouble. These 2-hour camcorder batteries that don't last but 30 minutes are getting to be a hassle here. Okay, while I changed batteries, Joyce, she said that was the California State was 95 instead of 96. But anyway, she's really enjoys shooting, and she has also done well, like in this short range competition. She shoots some bullseye shooting, and just all around shooting in general she enjoys. And like I say, we've got all kind of trophies from smaller matches, but this is just to show you a little bit of what she has done in matches. It's usually 60 or 80 round matches, and she's really done well for herself. That's it for the silhouette part of my tape that I'm sending to the shooting show, and we enjoy the shooting show, and we wish more silhouette shooters would get interested in firearms legislation and so forth. It's disappointing to me. I was at a big shoot, and there was a guy there that publishes some kind of a little newsletter on shooting, and I mentioned something about the gun control issue and so forth, and he said, well, he doesn't get involved with the politics of it. He's just in for the sport of it. And people like that, they don't seem to realize that down the road there will be no sport shooting if they're doing it incrementally. They're taking away the guns that you use for anything at all that goes bang. So we hope even the silhouette shooters and the skeet shooters and people like that will take more interest in, and keep aware of what gun legislation is happening. And that's it for now. I mentioned when I was out there demonstrating on the tape about silhouette shooting that there was air pistol silhouette also that NRA promotes, and some people may have never heard of this. And this is the little tiny targets they shoot at with their air pistols. We have never shot in a match of that because we don't live where they do it. But what we do, we have a little range set up here at home, and during the winter or off season, sometimes we'll just go down and it's shot so that we stand in our basement door. It's the correct distance to shoot. And I'll show you our range light here in a second. My basement door, this is the air gun silhouette set up. There's the chickens, pigs, turkeys you can't hardly see. They're in the shadows right now. You have to pick what time of day you shoot these things, or you're shooting at things you can't see. But anyway, these air pistols are really a good way to practice with your sight alignment and so forth right at home. Even if you lived in a city area, you can set this course up. Hey, Joyce?
They're 30 feet.
30 feet, okay, that's 10 yards, right?
Right.
And the pigs?
They're 37.5 feet, which is 12.5 yards.
Turkeys?
Is 45 feet, which is 15 yards.
And the rams?
54 feet, and they're 18 yards.
And for this setup, we just have cheap air guns. We have a Daisy 717 with a scope to practice with scope sights. It has a Walther barrel, which shoots just as good as a more expensive 777, but the 777 has a much better open sight, so we use it for the open-sighted gun. And like I say, we don't shoot it in formal competition, but they shoot good enough, and we just use regular Daisy pellets, which aren't very expensive. You buy 500 of them for $2.05, I think it is. So this is way a person that lives in a city area or something can set up your own little course, and it's real fun practice. You got to remember though, even these air guns aren't toys, and if you have children that use them, make sure they're supervised like you would any other gun. You don't want someone getting their eye put out, but they're surprisingly accurate. And if you have ever tried shooting this, these little chickens here, at 10 yards, area shooting don't get it. You got to be right on, or you don't hit these little guys. Okay, Johnny, on your shooting show, I like watching every week when you and the judge talk politics, and I'd like to get my 2 bits worth in it. Well, I got you. I've got a little excerpt here from a speech by an important politician that I've read to different friends and relatives, and have them guess who said this. This year will go down in history. For the first time, a civilized nation has full gun registration. Our streets will be safer, our police more efficient, and the world will follow our lead into the future. I've asked different people to guess who made that statement. I've had people guess Bill Clinton, Bob Dole, Dianne Feinstein, Charles Schumer, Senator Biden, Senator Chafee. and all of these different politicians, but they're all wrong. This was an excerpt from Adolf Hitler's speech, one of his speeches he made back in 1935. And if that sounds like something Clinton and so forth would say, it's more than just a chance of them doing this. Because after World War II, they had the Nuremberg trials for the Nazi war criminals, and during those trials they had the Hitler's gun laws, copies of them, and three, I believe they were senators from the United States, took copies and had them translated into English. One of those, I used to know the names of all three, but one of them was Dodd, I believe it's the President Dodd of Connecticut's father, had them translated into English. Of the 20,000 or so gun control laws on the books today, including the 1968 Gun Control Act and most of the provisions of these Brady bills, are virtually word for word copies of the Hitler's gun laws. And if this doesn't make gun owners, regardless of what kind of guns they own, wary, it should. Another thing, a couple of years ago, on one of the evening talk shows, I seen they had a high-up official from the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearm, and he let it slip that of all the gun dealers that they were putting out of business, which the present administration's goal is to put most of the, at least half the federal firearms dealers out of business, and one of the officials let it slip that they were taking the 4473 forms that the dealers that are closed down have to send in, and they're putting them on computers. This is a direct violation of federal law, as the Volcker-McClure Act made it unlawful for gun registration in the United States, but since when has this administration ever been worried about what the law says? Now, these 4473 forms, like this one here, is the only form that long guns, such as rifles, shotguns, or like this, even curios and relics, are listed on. It gives their make, their serial number, and so forth. And any dealer that goes out of business, he has to, after he closes business, has to send all these ATF forms in, these 4473 forms into ATF, or it's a felony. Also his bound book. So what is happening, one reason that, besides just wanting to outlaw guns completely, one reason they're wanting to close down these dealers is this is the only way they have of getting this information. Like here in People's Republic of California, if you sell a handgun, the State Department of Justice, you have to send in, and it has a serial number and everything of handguns, and of course it's permanent record there, but they don't require a serial number, make, or anything on long guns. So really, the only place long guns are listed is on this 4473 form. A lot of these people that they say they're not worried about, they don't see any reason for having assault rifles and this and that. As long as they got whatever they use, they don't worry about this. But this is the, like in Hitler's Gun Control Act, this was one of the things, is get a list of who has the guns, and then I don't know what could happen here, but in Germany, once they got the list and they decided to confiscate the guns, they went around, and if it showed that you had a gun and you didn't come up with it, they shot you on the spot. That sounds radical, but if you see how the present administration is villainizing cigarette smoking, for instance. I mean, we have a drug policy, and basically the president's telling the kids, turn in that nasty pack of cigarettes and we'll give you a free needle. and it is mind-boggling how they villainize groups that they dislike. They're always villainizing NRA, and the other day they had this summit meeting on volunteerism. Well, recent statistics show that for the first time since the statistics were kept on accidental death of juveniles, since it started in 1904, the death from accidental gunfire in the United States is the lowest it's ever been. And you'd think the president, if he's really interested in volunteerism, would really praise the NRA, because all these hunter safety courses taught the NRA, this is all volunteer work. But all he does is villainize them as scoundrels and so forth. So whether you are interested in just shooting sports like clay pigeons, pistol shooting for paper punching, whatever, I encourage all of these shooters, you better start banding together things could be done. You could petition your congressman to make it a law that any firearm dealer that went out of business, in lieu of sending in all his records to ATF, could destroy him. And right away, I'm sure these people that want to outlaw guns would say, well, geez, you can't do that. You can't trace down who it was sold to and everything. Who it was sold to is irrelevant. When a crime is committed, it's whoever has the firearm. Just like if you have a wreck and go up for manslaughter in a car, they don't check back who bought the car originally. It's what is irrelevant, who is in control of that inanimate object at the time. Same with the gun. Instead of wasting time tracing who bought it originally and so forth, just prove that whoever committed the crime and was using the gun at the time is responsible and convict them for it. Never mind all this other stuff. You could petition your Congress to make it illegal for ATF to enforce you to send all of the dealers' firearms records to them if you go out of business. Just make it a law that they can destroy them in lieu of mailing them in. Another thing is the president and these gun control people say that having guns is not a deterrent to crime. The crime rates are going down, and really it's not going down. They're using a different system of recording it. I'm a retired peace officer, and I've got all the statistics for years, and this stuff like Clinton getting on TV and talking about cop killer bullets, and he made one speech where he mentions a person by name, a law enforcement officer that was killed, and he said he told them, his family, that they should provide that a person like him shouldn't have to worry about not coming home because of these people with cop killer bullets. Well, someone chased it down, and the man that he mentioned in his speech actually was killed in a vehicle accident while responding to an emergency. It had nothing to do with cop killer bullets or anything like that. And Clinton mentions that when he was a child in Arkansas, how the black churches were burned down and so forth, and how he sympathized. Someone checked that out, and they proved that that never happened at the time he was a juvenile in Arkansas. So basically, myself and anyone who's been involved in law enforcement has to have had a lot of training in court procedures and so forth. Grimmy, come here. My dog here. Come on, Grimmy. This is my pet dog here, old Grimmy. He was 4 years old, and I took him down the feed store. He weighed 208 pounds. He was rather litter, biggest one I ever had for a bull mastiff. But anyway, he's a big baby. But back to the gun control thing. Anyone involved in law enforcement knows that, for instance, polygraph tests cannot be used in the court as being legal. The reason is that pathological liars can fool the polygraph machines. And anyone that has ever followed up on any of Clinton's statements where they've been checked out and proved to be false and so forth should be aware that what we have in the president and most of the people in his administration is pathological liars. They skew the percentages in crime rates and talk about how many more police they got on the street and so forth. And all these are false statistics that they come up with just to do their own agenda. And it's about time the shooters and hunters in this country band together and tell your congressman if you want to stay in office, you better start doing away with some of this corruption that's going on in Washington, D.C., and never mind trying to villainize the law-abiding gun owners of this country. And if we don't, it's going to be too late before long. It's been said, and I don't know if sure or not, that if you have a pan of hot water, boiling water, and you drop a frog in it, he hops out. But if you put a frog in a pan of cold water and then turn up the heat gradually, he'll stay there till he is cooked. That's what's happening to us. We're in a pan of boiling water, and we're going to be cooked if we don't all get together and start doing away with these things. Whether you want to use this on your show or not, I don't know, but it is very important for the gun owners in this country to start banding together. They're doing this of incrementalism. They go against the cigarette smokers, which I'm not a smoker, never have been. But when you see what they're doing to villainize it, it's like it's the worst crime in the world, and yet they want to legalize drugs. So anyway, people should start really thinking for themselves. And we don't even watch the ABC, CBS, NBC News except to see what kind of a liberal spin they're going to put on the news. We usually watch the C-SPAN, and like that, and you see them debating these things in Congress, and you can really see how much lying is going on and so forth. Because if you watch the local news, you get the same slant on all of it. Even Joyce don't even watch soap operas anymore. If they're going to have some gun control legislation, they'll have some of the soaps. Almost every one of them will have some kid finding a gun in his mother's purse or something, and then shooting someone accidentally, or things like this. It's just the TV networks and so forth. They are so much in conspiracy with the present liberal administration that they just push all these liberal agendas, and it's really hard to beat it. And Johnny Rowland shooting show, if all these people involved in shooting sports would donate to it, the shooting industry people, all your shooting associations, getting it out on TV. People don't read that much anymore in newspapers and magazines. If they do, it's 2 or 3 months old, and politicians know that the average person don't remember anything over 6 weeks anyway. So I urge all people watching a shooting show, all different associations, gun manufacturers, anything to do with shooting, get behind Johnny Rowland and his shooting show, and I think we can really do something about this, because if the truth is known, a lot of people would help out. But the way it is, if you just watch the local NBC, CBS, and whatever, you're not getting the right picture. And I urge everyone to start thinking for yourself and doing for yourself. Thanks. That's all I have to say for now. Bye.